The Toronto Blue Jays have signed Max Scherzer to a one-year, $15.5 million deal per John Hyman. Now, Carter, we went through everything on the live stream. It's time to really dive deep. How does this affect this team for this season? Where does it move other players? And what is next for the Toronto Blue Jays?
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Super Bowl 59 is here, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. As always, I'm Braden Iwasco. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Braden5Iwasco. Carter First, too, as well on Instagram and Twitter, or Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays as well. If you're new here to YouTube or you're listening anywhere else, make sure you head over to the YouTube page. You drop a subscription. It's free. You might as well do so. Helps us out and keeps us at the top of your page. Gives you guys live stream shorts, videos, podcasts, the whole ordeal. YouTube is the hub. So make sure you do head there and hit the subscribe button. Discord link is down in the description, and a lot to get into on today's episode, that's for sure. Holy moly, the Toronto Blue Jays almost couldn't make me happier this offseason. Couple things that we'll get into that would, make it perfect for me, but this is a pretty good start. The Toronto Blue Jays signed Max Scherzer, like I said, $15.5 million deal, 1 year. Carter, just first reactions. I know we did this on the live stream last night. Thanks for everybody who joined into that. First reactions from you. I know there's a lot of people that are saying Max Scherzer's old, blah, blah, blah. This is a dumb deal. For you, I'll start there. How are you feeling coming off this news, having some time to digest the information?
This is one of the best pitchers of our generation. How can you be mad at a signing like this? Again, obviously, Max Scherzer is not the pitcher that he once was 2015, 2016, 2017. He is older now. He is 40 years old. But this guy, 3 Cy Young Awards, 8-time All-Star. He has all the accolades you could ever want. So just as kind of just like a milestone and just something that the Toronto Blue Jays went and signed a guy with all the accolades, probably a surefire Hall of Famer as well. In that sense, just pretty cool to have a guy like that on your baseball team. And just overall, just adding depth to this starting rotation that I've been harping on this entire offseason. So the rotation looked okay to start going into this offseason when you have those 5 that you were going to run back with Yariel, Rodriguez, Bowden, Francis, Kevin Gausman, Jose Berrios, and Chris Bassitt. But like I said, if you have one injury, you have one problem, maybe one of those guys doesn't have a very good year, you have a little bit of lack of performance, there was going to be a tough spot for the Toronto Blue Jays. You don't want Paulo Espino going out and being your 5th rotation guy. That's not going to work too well in the long term. So now Jake Bloss would be your next guy up. But again, you don't want to rush this guy to the major leagues. You would rather have this guy kind of settle in AAA. If he works his way up and plays unbelievably in AAA and then makes it a tough decision on who you're going to start in your rotation, that's a problem that the Toronto Blue Jays would welcome to have. They're not going to have any problems with that whatsoever. So I think just adding depth to the bullpen and just obviously having another pitcher like Max Scherzer in this rotation cannot be a bad thing. It does not make the Toronto Blue Jays worse going into 2025.
Absolutely not. I said just for the sheer factor of seeing Max Scherzer in a Toronto Blue Jays uniform made my day. I think how electric is it going to be for Max Scherzer to walk out at Rogers Center, and then have a Toronto Blue Jays jersey on. It's something completely different. Take the signing, the age, everything, the season that it is out of the question. You have a first ballot, most likely Hall of Famer starting for your baseball team. I don't think it gets better than that. This is like growing up as kids. I remember we always wanted to, if it's a video game or if we're watching on the TV, you want to play as Max Scherzer. You want to watch Max Scherzer. He's an electric guy on the mound, fun to watch, and just embodies greatness. So again, I don't hate on this move whatsoever. It was either this or you sign a guy like Nick Pivetta and you hope that he does something. Or you go with a very, very proven talent that is going to deliver you a 3/4 starter position. And you get the name value within Max Scherzer. How many Toronto Blue Jays jerseys do you think that are going to be sold with Max Scherzer's name on the back. That is going to pay for this deal by itself. For the next 10 years, Blue Jays fans will be wearing Max Scherzer jerseys for the 1 year he played here just because it's Max Scherzer. That's like me having the Roy Halladay All-Star Game jersey. I have that jersey literally just to say I have the Roy Halladay All-Star Game jersey. That's it. I don't wear it out. It stays in my closet, but what a thing to have. And that'll be one of those like off, crazy jerseys that we go to remember as Toronto Blue Jays fans way down the line. This move to me is excellent from a business standpoint for Rogers, for the Toronto Blue Jays organization, and for the team this year. I think it makes a whole lot of sense. That's just my opinion, my little rant there to start the show.
Yeah, Max Scherzer's jersey is going to be up there in the rafters with the Joey Votto jersey, obviously, with the Toronto Blue Jays last season. It's going to be one of those that you look back at. Max Scherzer was on the Toronto Blue Jays 20 years down the line, 25 years down the line. It's going to be one of those funny things. One thing I do want to get into is just the overwhelming reaction that we got, at least in our comment section for the podcast, a little bit on Twitter. It was more so 50-50 on Twitter. For some reason, we were getting it worse a little bit on our own pages. But Max Scherzer is not here to be the ace of this team. He's not going to be the opening day starter. Just in terms of contracts, just adding the Toronto Blue Jays, you have Kevin Gausman, who's making roughly $23 million a year. Jose Berrios around 21.5. Chris Bassitt 21. Max Scherzer at 15.5. Just stating right there, Max Scherzer is not going to be the ace opening day. He might work his way up if he somehow, turns back the clock 10 years and pitches unbelievably. That's the upside that Max Scherzer does have. But he's getting brought in, not to be the first guy, not to be the second guy, maybe the third guy down the road, but a fourth or fifth rotation guy for the Toronto Blue Jays. He's not going to go out there and pitch 7-8 innings every single start. He probably won't start 31 games for the Toronto Blue Jays, especially when you have Alek Manoah coming back. But it's just crazy to me how mad people were at this signing. It just doesn't make any sense. When Max Scherzer does not make your baseball club worse. It makes the bullpen better with Yariel Rodriguez getting pushed to the bullpen. It makes your starting rotation better because I think there's higher upside than Yariel Rodriguez. It seems like Toronto Blue Jays fans are getting a little bit greedy with some of these signings, and it needs to be the perfect signing, and everything needs to go exactly the way they want, because if it's not the player that they do want, and not the player that they have their eyes on all offseason, they're not going to be happy with it.
Welcome to Toronto, folks. You can't have nice things here, okay? Because Rogers and Ross Atkins and this organization doesn't make moves. People are pissed. They go make, which I think is a very smart business and organizational move in Max Scherzer, and people are still pissed. I don't get it. What more do you guys want from him? He signs Anthony Santander, Jeff Hoffman, great bullpen signing. He gets Sandlin, who I think is actually going to be a very good depth piece. Andrus Jimenez, who is a Gold Glove second baseman, who is going to provide great defense, and we'll see what he can bring with the bat. Another, I think, decent piece. We'll have to wait and see on that one. And now Max Scherzer, and who knows, the Blue Jays might not be done. You cannot ask for anything more here. Don't get me wrong. I'll put out my ass later on in the show of what else I want more. But for right now, just be happy that all of these moves have been happening for a year that was so bad for Toronto last season. And we asked for big name players to come here. Welcome to the show here. This is big name players. Anthony Santander, Max Scherzer. You almost can't get two more big names than those two guys. Yes, of course, Juan Soto. But other than those two guys, those are huge players that this organization has just brought in. So the whining and complaining over, oh, he's too old. Oh, he's not the player he was. Of course he's not. He's 40 years old. I don't know, everybody. Just chill out a little bit. He's going to give you the role that you brought him in to do. And he's going to be a huge name for this organization that can say that they had Max Scherzer playing on this team. And who knows? Maybe he plays excellent. Maybe we do see a little bit of a glimmer of old Max Scherzer. And even better, I don't really see the downside here. You know what you're going to get out of Max Scherzer. Go look at his statistics over his career, over his last 4 or 5 years. You know what you're going to get. And I think if that's the bar, I'm very happy with the bar. Again, it was just a lot of comments bashing Max Scherzer signing after asking and begging for Max Scherzer to come to Toronto. I'm just lost a little bit.
See, and we didn't even go into our king, but maybe a top 10, top 5 player in all of baseball, Miles Straw. That acquisition that the Toronto Blue Jays had, that's going to have an immediate impact on the team. He might be a bench role, probably not even. If he plays in AAA, I mean, whatever. You take a shot on Roki Sasaki, didn't work out, probably goes down as one of the worst trades of the Ross Atkins era, but you do understand where he was coming from in that. In this contract, it seems like people think that Max Scherzer's into like a 7-year contract at $15.5 million per year. It's a 1-year deal. Like there is bad 1-year deals, but is it really that bad? It's 1 year of baseball. Worst case scenario, Max Scherzer just completely falls off, and you're in the same boat that you were in anyway. And it's not that the Max Scherzer signing is preventing the Toronto Blue Jays from going out and signing Pete Alonso, signing Alex Bregman. I think if they were worried about the luxury tax and they were worried about their payroll, they probably don't even go out and sign Max Scherzer. And again, people are saying that 15.5 is an overpay, this and that. Maybe they wanted Jack Flaherty. Maybe they wanted Jose Quintana. At that point, they would have had to agree to a lot more term. The Toronto Blue Jays did not want to do that. It kind of seems like they're really going to try to go in for this 1 year. And just looking at other older pitchers around the league, Justin Verlander being over 40 years old, Charlie Morton being over 40 years old as well. Charlie Morton got $15 million at 1 year. Justin Verlander also got $15 million at 1 year. So yeah, $500,000 more for Max Scherzer. I think if you look at all three of those, you can debate this one, but I think Max Scherzer has the highest upside out of all three of these pitchers. Just going into the stats from last year with these three guys, Charlie Morton had a 4.19 ERA over 165.1 innings pitched, 133 WHIP, a 1.1 WAR, a 23.8 strikeout rate with an opponent OPS of 766. Justin Verlander had a 5.48 ERA over 90.1 innings pitched, a 1.38 WHIP, a negative WAR at 0.3, 18.7 strikeout rate, and an opponent OPS of 781. Then you go to Max Scherzer again. There was some injuries, didn't necessarily pitch as many innings as these other guys, but had a 3.95 ERA over 43.1 innings, a 1.15 WHIP, 0.4 WAR, 22.6 strikeout rate, and opponent OPS of 724. And this guy was going into the year with some lingering injuries, had a back injury early in 2024, and then had some nerve issues with his shoulder. We've kind of seen it again, especially with this guy being older. That might be a little bit of a concern for some people. But you see it when there's injuries throughout the year, and it's like even the younger guys that have some troubles when they have injuries early on, they kind of linger and they lead to other injuries as well. Just looking at George Springer earlier on in his Blue Jays tenure, Bo Bichette last year, obviously Jordan Romano had a plethora of injuries, never could really get back to what he was doing. We expect a really good year from Jordan Romano, even though he did not sign with the Toronto Blue Jays. So Max Scherzer had a ton of time to get healthy. And again, he's not going to pitch that 200 innings that he did in 2015. That shouldn't be the expectation with Max Scherzer. This guy is supposed to be a depth piece. He's supposed to help the bottom of the starting rotation. And even if he can be serviceable up until the point where Alek Manoah gets back, that gives you a ton more options. And maybe when there's off days throughout the season, which there always are, I wouldn't be surprised if Max Scherzer skips the odd start here and there because he is a 40-year-old and they might try to save him for later on in the season.
Yeah, Carter. You know what? There's a lot of points to this whole Max Scherzer thing that I still want to cover, but I guess I'll leave like this first little segment on this one before we sort of get more in depth. Just on the signing itself, I don't think this is. Don't get me wrong. I don't think this is the biggest, greatest signing of all time. I don't want to make it seem like I'm out here saying that Max Scherzer is going to bring a championship to Toronto just because he's here. No. But I'm saying for a 1-year deal on a veteran that has proven it time and time again that he can do it, and he's going to still be serviceable on a shot for the Blue Jays on a season where they are going all in. This doesn't, I don't think there's any room to hate this deal. So anybody that's saying that he's too old, too whatever, go look at the statistics, look at the guys who are pitching in the 4th and 5th hole on other major league teams, and take a look and tell me that Max Scherzer doesn't fit right in for this Toronto Blue Jays team. And I'll leave it there. We got to take a quick break. We'll come back. We got a lot more to get into. What's next for the Toronto Blue Jays? How does Carter, I know Carter's a couple questions that he wants to get into. We got so much more to get to, so let's take a quick break and be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. I always tell you guys how much I love Game Time because it's the only place that I know I can go to get the cheapest possible tickets. Attending NFL playoff games is an unforgettable experience that brings fans together. I always talk about it. Me and Carter sit on the couch every Sunday and we watch games together. It'd be nice, to be able to get out and go to a game, go to an NHL game, go to an MLB game, whatever it may be. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes it even easier to get tickets for events. It filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. We went to the Jets game a few weeks ago. Game Time Picks popped up the cheapest, best ticket for me. It was easy. 1 click, 2 clicks. I was through buying my tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. So, Carter, I'll throw it over to you. Start things off. I know I sort of went on a few little rants there, but a lot of comments sort of saying their piece. And you know what? You can all believe what you want to believe, and we'll have to wait and see what happens throughout the year. I'm not discrediting anybody, but I'm just saying go into this with an open mind. The Blue Jays are actually making moves and making moves for big name players. So I'm pretty happy.
Oh, yeah, you go to the opposite side. The Toronto Blue Jays don't sign a starting pitcher, and you have people complaining that the Toronto Blue Jays don't have any starting pitching depth. So at least that Ross Atkins is spending this offseason. It's a lot more fun to spend, even on these big names, taking some shots, maybe a little bit of risk involved in here. But if it works out, this is going to look like a genius move from Ross Atkins. But again, this guy is 40 years old. The expectation shouldn't be that he's going to be prime Max Scherzer, but it also shouldn't be that this guy is a 40-year-old bum that is not going to contribute to the team whatsoever. We can meet somewhere in the middle with Max Scherzer. That is going to be something that I am more than happy with as a Toronto Blue Jays fan. But with the Max Scherzer stuff, what we were kind of hearing before Max Scherzer is that, there needs to be a power bat. There needs to be a Pete Alonso signing. There needs to be an Alex Bregman. There needs to be something else that happens with this Toronto Blue Jays team before this Max Scherzer signing. Obviously, we're here now. Max Scherzer has signed. Pete Alonso is not here. Alex Bregman is not here as of right now. But do you think that with the Max Scherzer signing, with his relationship with Pete Alonso, do you think the Toronto Blue Jays aren't done? Do you think that there still is room for more opportunity? We did talk about this a little bit in the live stream, but is there any room for any other power bat, just any other positional need, maybe even a bullpen piece that you could see being added to this Toronto Blue Jays roster?
No, with a question mark behind it, because I believe that the Toronto Blue Jays could go and make a move for Pete Alonso. I am starting to believe that Pete Alonso will not sign before spring training. That's just where I see things headed right now. Again, could be wrong there. A little bit of me thinks that the Blue Jays are about done. Maybe we see a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. extension. That's just a gut feeling I have, because I've called now the past 2 deals within the week. So I'm calling this one as well. I'm going to say I think that there might be something with Vlad moving forward before spring training. Deal may not get done, but I believe that the Blue Jays will try to make a few more offers. And I know that the talks are continuous with Vlad, but in signing another bat, I think it's unlikely now. I think we would have seen one of those deals happen before Max Scherzer. Now that it's going to happen after, again, knock on wood, I would love for it to happen. But I'm a little skeptical now.
See, for me, the difference is with Max Scherzer, it seemed like the Toronto Blue Jays were always the front runner. It didn't really seem like there was a ton of other interest regarding around Max Scherzer. With Pete Alonso, it didn't seem like they were ever really the front runner other than like a week where apparently the Toronto Blue Jays had the highest offer. But even then, it felt like that Scott Boras was trying to make some ploys, trying to get in with Steve Cohen, use the Toronto Blue Jays as leverage. So Pete Alonso, it seems like he wants to play for the Mets. Alex Bregman, I think he would have signed with the Toronto Blue Jays if he wanted to play for the Toronto Blue Jays. That's not saying he's not going to sign with the Toronto Blue Jays. Again, money talks at the end of the day. If the Toronto Blue Jays are the only one that offered him this 6-year contract, he might end up coming to the Toronto Blue Jays. But it's kind of the same thing as adding Max Scherzer to the starting rotation does not make this team worse. Adding Max Scherzer to this team does not make it more unlikely that Pete Alonso is going to come here. If anything, it's actually a better thing for Pete Alonso with the relationship that they did have when they played with the Mets. A little bit more incentive. Obviously, the Toronto Blue Jays being serious for this season. When you look at Pete Alonso, probably a lower term contract. We're looking at the 2 to 3, maybe at most 4 years, whereas Alex Bregman, the lowest, probably 5 years. Could work all the way up to 7 years. So I'm kind of on the same page as you. I don't think it's going to happen. But then again, we've been wrong a time or two before. If Ross Atkins has surprised us kind of this entire offseason, when we were talking in December, we thought the Toronto Blue Jays might not even get anyone. We thought Santander, for the most part, especially you, thought he was going to sign with the Toronto Blue Jays. But the Jeff Hoffman signing kind of came out of nowhere. I don't think either me or you had that one. We did have a bullpen addition, but wasn't necessarily Jeff Hoffman. So Ross Atkins has surprised us this entire offseason. So will he go out, sign Pete Alonso, sign Alex Bregman? He's still talking to them. So it is definitely a possibility. I don't think I would point more so to that not happening than happening, but I would not be like completely surprised and blown out of the water if one of them did come to Toronto.
Yeah, I think that's about where I'm at too. I wouldn't be shocked if one of them did sign, but if I was a betting man, and I am, I'm betting that neither of them do sign here. I think that the Toronto Blue Jays have made a lot of moves, and I think we all have to realize that this organization has done a lot this offseason. And I think we were asking for the moon, and now we're asking for the rest of the planets as well. So I think we need to take a step back and realize that this might be it. We got to be happy with that because I think we've gotten what we've asked for. Besides, me personally with the Vlad signing that I really want to happen, and I think the rest of Blue Jays fans also really want it to happen. So again, yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with everything. We're all sort of playing the waiting game, and you know what? We've said this sucks, but I think I'm starting to come on the other side of that, where I'm now saying I think this is our team, and I'm very happy with how this team looks moving into the 2025 season.
Well, and just looking at other teams around the league, and even looking at the Toronto Blue Jays offseason last year, a big signing was Justin Turner. They got IKF, obviously Yariel Rodriguez as well, who you could still be excited about. But when you look at it from this season, you look at Max Scherzer, you look at obviously Andrus Gimenez, that trade, you look at Jeff Hoffman, you look at Anthony Santander. Those are some pretty big names coming to the Toronto Blue Jays. You look at, for example, the San Diego Padres, they're not trying to get better. They're trying to move on from some of their players. Dylan Cease and Michael King being on the market. Look at the Atlanta Braves, literally doing absolutely nothing until the Jerks Profar signing. There's the Cleveland Guardians that were very good last year, made the ALCS. They haven't really done a whole lot. So it could be a whole lot worse at Toronto Blue Jays land. It's not going to be quite where the Dodgers are at, but that can't be the expectation for the Toronto Blue Jays. It can't be what the Dodgers are doing. Toronto Blue Jays just, and unfortunately, if I have to break it to you here, they're never going to defer $1 billion in contracts. It's just not who the Toronto Blue Jays are. That's not what their organization is about. But I kind of want to move on a little bit from the like other players, the free agents. I kind of want to focus on within. I mentioned this a little bit in the first segment just about Yariel Rodriguez. And obviously now it seems like he is going to be moved towards the bullpen. I kind of want to get into what the bullpen is going to look like now as well. But Yariel Rodriguez last season, like this makes the team significantly better, in my opinion, especially just a little bit more certainty with the starting rotation. You look at Yariel Rodriguez last year, a 4.47 ERA over 86.2 innings pitched. I bet you right now Max Scherzer is going to pitch more than 86.2 innings if he can stay healthy. A 132 whip for Yariel, a negative WAR, unfortunately, but I mean, barely negative, but it's still unfortunate. A negative 0.1 WAR, 23.1 strikeout rate, and an opponent OPS of 706. And I'll quickly go over the Scherzer stats just again for reference. A 3.95 ERA over 43.1 innings pitched, a 115 whip, 0.4 WAR, 22.6 strikeout rate, and an opponent OPS of 724. This works the best of both worlds here. You get Max Scherzer where he is in the starting rotation, probably more upside than Yariel Rodriguez. And where was Yariel Rodriguez the best when he was pitching in Japan? He was pitching out of the bullpen. And whether he is a long man, whether he works into higher leverage throughout the year, this is going to completely bolster the bullpen once again. Just going over the bullpen and how it does look right now. You have Jeff Hoffman probably being your closer. Then you have Yimi Garcia, Chad Green, Erik Swanson. Those three can kind of rotate. Those to your top four. Nick Sandlin. Then you have Brendan Little. Then you have Yariel Rodriguez. And then the last spot is kind of open. Like this team does need some left-handed pitching. This is kind of why I want to go into this, is that you do have a bunch of options for that that spot. So Easton Lucas on the 40-man. Michael Peterson, who people will probably forget about, also on the 40-man. Zach Pop doesn't have any options, so it's either you're going to have to DFA this guy or he's going to be starting on the team. Josh Walker is a major league deal. That would be a lefty. Adam Mako, obviously a prospect. Richard Lovelady, not on the 40-man, but that is another option as well. Then Adam Kloffenstein, who they just signed, and then Tommy Nance, not on the 40-man, but Fangraphs actually had him projected to be in this bullpen rotation, I guess you could say. So overall, like, where are you kind of at with the Yariel Rodriguez compared to Max Scherzer? Like, who's better in the rotation? Is this a good move by the Toronto Blue Jays? And just what do you think the bullpen is going to look like come 2025 opening day?
Yeah, no question in my mind. This is exactly what I wanted to happen. I wanted to push Yariel Rodriguez to the bullpen. I don't think he had enough developmental time within the MLB, sitting in that bullpen role and then moving to the starter. I know their end goal for him was for him to be a starter, but I think you rushed him into it. It was his first year with the team, coming out of an off year. Like I think that he needs to go to the bullpen. I love him in the long relief role. That's what he served as a little bit last season, and he looked good. And for the bullpen wise, yeah, I mean that for the 8th spot, I think it's got to be Zach Pop. They don't want to DFA him. I don't think that they throw him back. I think that he's going to be sitting in there. As much as maybe I don't love it, I think for an eighth guy, if he's your eighth guy, I don't think I'm too upset about that, to be honest with you.
The only thing that kind of irks me the wrong way is for the starting rotation. I don't care about lefties and righties. Doesn't really matter to me whatsoever. As long as these guys can pitch, as long as they can produce, that is fine. But when you look at the bullpen, when you look in later game situations, right now it's Brendan Little. That's your only lefty on this team. You don't really have any other options. Do you see this as being a problem for the Toronto Blue Jays? And that's why I might be leaning a little bit more towards a guy like Josh Walker, who again, maybe Zach Pop was not very good last year. We just flat out say it like that. Josh Walker, maybe another lefty in that bullpen, does give you a little bit more flexibility with what you do with Brendan Little. So that's where I'd probably lean. But do you have any concerns about just the lack of lefties in the starting rotation and bullpen?
Yes, absolutely, I do. You need to have lefties in the bullpen. I think if it was my choice, I think you'd look for that lefty to take Zach Pop's spot. What do I think the team is going to do? I think the team is going to do Zach Pop, at least to start the season, and see how it goes from there. But yeah, for me, 100% completely, I would love to have another lefty in that bullpen. I think you need one, like you said, just for the option of throwing against somebody who maybe doesn't hit lefties as well. I know sometimes you're like, oh, well, do we throw somebody who's better just because they're a righty, or do we throw the lefty that we know the guy's weaker against? And that's player to player, situation to situation. But I think having the option is especially for an eighth guy, having the option is definitely better than not.
See, this is something that I've been thinking about. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's a possibility. Zach Pop out of options cannot be optioned to AAA. One guy that does have options, and again, you talked about kind of rushing this guy into the MLB last season, is Yariel Rodriguez. If you want to start him in AAA, kind of get that confidence back, keep him loosen up, probably build that confidence as well, that would open it up. But for me, at this point, is Yariel Rodriguez better than Zach Pop? Absolutely. I think at this point, Zach Pop might get DFA'd from the Toronto Blue Jays. And it's not that bad of a scenario. Again, Zach Pop was not that good last season. I don't think a lot of people are going to be missing Zach Pop. But there is this little problem that they do have here with the lack of lefties. And they might have to make some corresponding moves to try to get one of these lefties in that eighth spot in this bullpen.
Yeah, no. I am completely against Yariel Rodriguez sending down to AAA now. I think that I love him as the long relief role here, because then, barring an injury, he can slide right back in. He's been with the team, and he can just slip right back into that rotation if need be. He's playing with the club. He's playing with the guys. He's around everybody that he would be. I think now this is the best possible role for Yariel, especially now having Max Scherzer, Chris Bassitt, Jose Berrios, Kevin Gausman, guys to learn from. There's no better place to be with a first ballot Hall of Famer as well, teaching you, maybe you being able to pick up little things from him. So no, I want Yariel in this bullpen opening day. No questions asked for me.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I mean, when you're just talking about skill set, like Yariel Rodriguez probably better than a lot of the guys that I did list for the options for that eighth bullpen spot. But there's a bunch more that I do want to go into. A couple questions regarding Max Scherzer, just overall and thoughts regarding this team and how the outlook is going now into that 2025 season. Spring training right around the corner. Maybe there are some more signings. It's going to come right upon us, I think, very quickly. Much more to get into, but we're going to start with that Max Scherzer in the next segment coming up.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it even easier to get in on the action with live game betting all game long. So you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. I will be doing this so much. I love the live game betting. I'm going to be betting all game long on all the props, all the specialty ones that they throw out. FanDuel will be my place that I live during Super Bowl 59. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Just bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. So, Carter, just continuing on, Max Scherzer, where he fits on this team. How does the team now respond? What was next? We sort of went through it all. I know you got a couple more things to touch on that you wanted to throw at me as well, so we can kick things off right there.
Yeah, I got just a few more things, and we're kind of going to wrap it up here. So I'm going to start off with I'm going to ask two questions here. So, what is like a good season in your eyes for Max Scherzer? How many starts does he have to have for it to be a productive season? And how many innings do you want to see out of Max Scherzer?
I'm thinking you're probably looking at mid 20 starts, I would think. Probably around 100 innings would be great. I don't necessarily know if he meets the 100 innings. Maybe he gets to the, mid 80s just with, I'm thinking injuries. He's getting older. Are you going to get 100 innings out of him? I don't know that. But if you can get the 100 innings out of him, that's probably what you're looking for Max Scherzer. And I mean, I don't know. Again, if he can end the season with somewhere mid threes ERA, I think that's more than you can ask for.
See, for me, I think I want him to make around 25 starts. If he can get to around 25 starts, I'm going to be very happy. And again, don't think Max Scherzer is going to go 6, 7 innings all the time. If he can go 5 innings to start, I'm going to be very happy with a guy like that from the fourth or fifth rotation spot. So if you make 25 starts, you pitch 5 innings around that every single time, that's 125 innings. I want Max Scherzer to be just over that 125. It's between 125 and 150. I'm going to be very happy with that signing for the Toronto Blue Jays and just the overall production we got from Max Scherzer. And this is a tweet from Keegan Bassitt. I just thought this was interesting to see just how much experience and how, maybe a little bit old this rotation is. A bunch of unks on this rotation, some of the people are saying. But Toronto Blue Jays rotation now leads with a veteran quartet of Kevin Gausman, Jose Berrios, Chris Bassitt, and Max Scherzer. That is 48 seasons of MLB experience and 7,109 innings. If they stay healthy, which is something this org does well, that is one hell of a group. And he summed it up perfectly there. That is one hell of a group if all four of these guys stay healthy. Probably the most experienced starting rotation quartet that in the league, to my knowledge right now. Four guys that have been doing it well and been doing it for a very long time.
If you get into a playoff spot, I mean, you can't use the excuse that these guys haven't been here or done it before. These pitchers have been here and they have done it before. Max Scherzer, 2 times World Series champion. These are the guys you need. You need guys with experience to help your team through the playoffs. And I think that's something that maybe on the hitting side of the baseball, that's where you're lacking. But at least your pitchers are most likely going to show up if you get into a wild card game or the first round.
And that leads into my last thing here is that the Toronto Blue Jays right now, when we talked about this a little bit on the live as well, there's probably 2 spots that are open right now for positional players. Probably still have a third base open where you have Ernie, Clement, you have Will Wagner maybe playing some reps there, Orelvis, Martinez, some infield options. And then you have a DH, which could be obviously either of those 3. Maybe Anthony Santander goes there. Maybe get Joey Loperfido and David Schneider some starts in right field or a corner outfield spot as well. So it's going to be interesting there. I guess the last question is what's left for the Toronto Blue Jays. I think there's 2 things that could happen that would be absolutely unbelievable for the Toronto Blue Jays. One that I would absolutely love to happen. Well, I guess you could say that for both of them, but one is a little bit more important than the other. First one is get one more power bat. I don't think that's a massive need necessarily now. Would it help? Absolutely. And I think the only 2 that for me are moving the needle are Alex Bregman and Pete Alonso. But the other thing that all Toronto Blue Jays fans are looking for, everyone's been asking about it the entire offseason, and this would put the cherry on top for the Ross Atkins offseason of 2024-2025, and that is the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. extension.
Yeah, I have nothing to say. That sums it up perfectly. I want Vladdy more than anything to sign his extension, hopefully before the season, so there's nothing looming over anybody's head going into this, what looks like could be a one-and-done season for this club. And then, yeah, an extra power bat would be great. I mean, getting Bregman or Alonso, yeah, you're right, would be great. But I'm looking for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. now. And if the other one does happen, if we do get Alonso or Bregman, even better. So, yeah, summed it up perfectly.
And I'm going to go on a limb and say some people are saying that this team still needs to do a lot more. They're still going to be 4th in the AL East. I think when you're looking at the Baltimore Orioles starting rotation, it's not very good. The Toronto Blue Jays rotation is a whole lot better. People are very high on the Boston Red Sox. I think that is for good reason. But I'm going to throw out a hot take right now. I think the Toronto Blue Jays, with the current roster right now, can definitely finish 2nd in the AL East. And obviously that would be good enough for a playoff spot. I don't know if this puts them over the hump to win the AL East. The New York Yankees still a good team. The Baltimore Orioles could still be very good. They still have a very good lineup. But I think people are still a little bit too down on the Toronto Blue Jays. Let's start this little optimism narrative. Let's be optimistic about the Toronto Blue Jays. Let's buy in on our 1 year. I don't care at this point what happens beyond 2026 and more. Obviously, I want Vladimir Guerrero Jr. That still is a prominent thing that we need to do right now. But as for everyone else, if they sign Alex Bregman, for example, I'm not going to care what the end of that contract looks like. I'm going to care about 2025 and it being a whole lot more fun than 2024 was to watch.
That's a great take. I was going to say the same thing. I honestly thought you were going to come in smoking hot with a take and say they were number one, but no, I agree. I think they can fight for number two now in this division. I like the way this team is built, and we'll see what can happen moving forward. But in saying that, we've talked a lot over the past 2 days about Max Scherzer, obviously with the signing happening yesterday. You guys all tuning in for the live stream. We really appreciate always the comments, the likes, everything. Just watching the videos, being a part of it with us. And now tuning in for this one. A lot more to come. Hopefully Monday, barring anything else big happening, we are going to dive deep in on Bichette and what's been going on in the offseason. Not a lot of talks going on. We'll get into all of that on Monday. As always, guys, make sure you hit the subscribe button. You hit the like, you comment, everything in between. And we'll have a great weekend. Don't do anything stupid, and we'll see you guys Monday.